Where am I?
You're in the science shed.
What year is it?
It's 2017.
Who's the president?
Unfortunately, it's Donald J. Trump.
Who are you?
I'm Steve Lee. I'm a chemist from the University of Cambridge.
And who's that guy over there?
That's Nick Evans. He's an associate professor in bioengineering from Southampton University.
And what are you guys doing?
We're just having a bit of a chat about science. Do you want to hear it?
Okay.
Well, you sit back and listen to the Science Shed.
Science shed! We're in the science shed! Science shed! We're in the science shed! Come on, Steve.
Bunsen.
Burner.
Dolly.
Machine.
Internal.
Combustion.
Why do we need
Steam.
Petri?
Dishes.
Oscar.
Space.
Isaac.
Newton.
Transplanting.
Science!
Hi Steve, how you doing?
Nick, hello.
Hello everybody. How are you all doing out there? Good to be back. So I'm podcasting with Steve, and we're in Hello Steve, and we're in my dining room again.
Yeah, we're back in Southampton.
I don't think we've been here since the first one we did, have we?
No, we've done two. We've done two here before because we did
about
the same kind of intro, like where it all began.
Oh,
If you remember.
I think we had some
Have we done enough podcasts that we could do like a turn back time? Like, where did it all begin back in June?
I think it's a bit too. It's not been long enough yet. I think we should
no
have
throwback Thursdays or whatever.
I was thinking we should have a part when we get to a year. We should have a party, and we should just say we're going to have a few pints in some pub in London, and then if people want to just rock
That
up,
would be
then they can.
amazing. We should totally do that.
We'll
all
be
right.
sitting by ourselves, but I don't care because it'll be fun anyway.
Yeah, let's totally do that. So,
Yeah. Anyway, so we're back here. Steve's had a bit of an epic journey to get here today.
Yep, and we seem to have come. We seem to be dressed identically, Nick.
We're
Which is
both
kind of
wearing
strange.
maroon jumpers, but I bet yours hasn't got a massive hole right in the middle.
No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't.
Yeah, so we're both dressed identically. We've brought along some interesting things to discuss, and I think we're gonna.
I've got a cup of tea.
I've got a cup of tea.
We're ready to go.
We've got some cookies, some special cookies from the corner shop that I went to on the way to pick Steve up from the Southampton Central Station, and we're ready to crack on.
Should we do some science?
Let's do it.
Nick,
Yeah,
you know I'm a chemist.
I had heard.
Yeah. So one of the things that's quite interesting, so we use a lot in chemistry with a technique called nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. NMR, which is the same technology that MRI is based on, magnetic resonance imaging. And essentially they lost the M. So the N it gets lost in MRI because people confused the nuclear part of nuclear magnetic resonance with
Nuclear bombs.
Exactly. But what you're actually talking about is the nucleus of an atom. In the majority of cases, it's hydrogen relaxing in the presence of a really strong magnetic field. So just very briefly, what you do is you have these really strong magnets, and those magnets are made for a superconducting material you have in the lab, right? So they're very they're not like an electromagnet; they're much stronger than that, and you have to supercool them. So they're cooled with liquid helium, which is at 4 Kelvin, so minus 270 degrees odd. And then outside that is liquid nitrogen. Everyone's probably familiar with liquid nitrogen.
I think it's about minus 196, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's about minus 70 degrees. Something
So
like
helium's a lot colder than liquid nitrogen.
that. Yeah, but helium's a lot more expensive than liquid nitrogen. And actually,
Yeah.
helium's one
You're
of the...
running out of helium.
Well,
as
because it
well.
evaporates. So even though it's the second most
It just
abundant
floats
element...
off into space.
Exactly. It's not massive enough to be
I
able
did
to
read an
keep it.
article on it quite recently, though, and I think we shouldn't worry. I think there's quite a lot of helium.
There's
left.
but it costs about £10 a litre for liquid helium. And it costs about
expensive.
5p for liquid nitrogen.
So are those little canisters you get for blowing up balloons, then they're really expensive.
There's not much helium in them. But yeah, but
It's enough for enough balloons for a party.
yeah,
though,
exactly.
isn't it?
Also, it depends.
Does
upon
the job. You breathe a bit of it in and talk in a silly high pitched
Yeah,
voice. as well.
but you have to remember that it's compressed, right? So it's easy to get the helium, but to get liquid helium, you have to keep it. You have to compress it. You have to cool it such and keep it cold such that it's liquid at room pressure, atmospheric pressure. Anyway, So we have these really big magnets, and you've probably seen if you ever go into an MRI, you can't go near it because there's the danger. You can't have anything metal on you. You can't if you have a pacemaker or anything. You're not allowed to go into rooms that have MRI
because it's so strong that it get actually ripped out of your chest.
Indeed, yeah,
Nice.
right. So it's millions of times stronger than the Earth's magnetic field, for instance, right? So what's really cool, right? So sometimes, because what you do is you have a big superconducting charge, right? So a big charge is going round in this big circle-shaped coil of wire that's sat in a bath of liquid helium, right? This is how this works. And if for any reason, these are also things that are actually open to the air, right? They're not like closed canister, right? So they slowly boils off and evaporates. You have to top it up with liquid helium, more helium and nitrogen.
It must be a pain in the arse of a job, isn't it? Standing at the top of one of them with a mug or a
try and move water, try and move a liquid that's like minus 270 degrees. It's pretty hard, right? And keeping it liquid is actually very difficult, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so you have this really cold thing that's kind of slowly bubbling away. So if you imagine taking like a bowl of water and put it in the oven, right? Eventually all the water would boil away, right? But it's not going to flash boil, right? It's not going to just go.
No, take a while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of happening all the time. And there's this like strong current in the magnet. And if for any reason it boils down too low or whatever, right, that stops superconducting. And when these coils stop superconducting, it means that they generate a load of resistance. And if you remember, when you generate a resistance, you generate heat.
Oh,
exactly.
Shit.
Right.
So basically, you've got to keep them cool, otherwise they blow up.
Exactly. They go bang.
Jesus.
But so this is cool. So they call it quench the magnet is the term you use, right? But
pouring liquid helium on it.
No. Is if it stops superconducting and blows up, right? You call it quenching, right?
Well, it's a pretty
but
euphemistic term.
But people use it. They have
catastrophic.
Yeah, but you have it. So, for instance, if someone did have like an implant or something that gets grabbed to the magnet, what they can do is you can push a little button that quenches the magnet, and then it stops being magnetic, and then someone doesn't die.
I see.
Right?
I see. Basically, switch it off.
You can switch it off, but it was about 50 grand in helium and nitrogen to cool it back down again, right? So you don't want to do that unless you really have to. But what's really cool, right? So if that ever happens, right? So the magnet gets quenched,
the magnet,
gets really hot, and it flash boils all of the helium, right? So it throws it out into the room, right?
Well, that's dangerous. That's more dangerous than getting your pacemaker ripped.
But you know what happens then? So because it's so cold, it condenses the water in the atmosphere and it snows indoors.
Oh my god, really?
Isn't that cool?
Immediately.
Yeah. So you hear this big bang, and then it just snows.
Oh my god.
Isn't that beautiful?
You wouldn't be able to see it because it'd be dead.
No, you're fine.
Asphyxiation.
No, but I mean you don't die instantly.
Well, you'd be dying with a very high pitched voice. It's snowing.
Exactly. Tales from the lab. How does it work? That's how it works. That's how it works. I finally understand it now. That's how it works. Nick.
Stephen.
I was watching something the other day I got on a YouTube.
It some hardcore pornography?
No, it was on YouTube. I got so in my lab we use lasers quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I was I was watching this thing and they did tattoo removal, right? You know you can use a laser to get rid of your tattoos.
Yeah, bleaches it or something. Have you ever seen tattoo removers, or there's a program on the telly?
Tattoo fixers. You're talking about.
Oh my god, there was one when someone had tattooed a penis on some guy's bum with the penis going into his bum hole.
Amazing.
And they engineered this whole image all around it of like the Eiffel Tower and all the bits and pieces. And somehow the massive penis just became part of the background. I don't know how.
Amazing.
Cracking program.
Friends of the show. So do you know how it works? Do you know how tattoo removal works?
I imagine
it's really cool.
I just guessing. Can I guess?
Yeah.
There's a laser and it bleaches the dye that's in the tissue.
No.
Really?
No.
Do you want me to carry on?
No, do you want me to tell you?
Yeah,
It's really
go
quite
on.
interesting.
Go on.
So when you take tattoo ink, right? So the black tattoo ink that people normally is nearly always carbon of some kind. It's bits of graphite,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
And if you look at it under a microscope, there's kind of different sizes of like clumps of the carbon, right? So there's big ones and there's small ones. And when you inject them under your, so when in the process of tattooing, is you're taking a needle and you're pushing some of this carbon under the skin. And if you look at it under the microscope, there's kind of very small stuff which your body has biological mechanisms to realize that this isn't part of the body, it's not natural, and it tries to get rid of it, right?
Yeah.
So typically the small stuff that can be kind of excreted through the lymphatic system and ends up basically in your liver, gets broken down in the liver. But the big stuff, typically bigger than about 15 microns, just sticks there, right?
Yeah,
Which
well,
is why
I know a bit about this
Yeah.
because I remember it kind of intersected with my research. So I
Yeah.
read about it for a while. There's a lot of these inks are actually heavy metal based, so they're quite toxic, right?
they can be, yeah.
Which is amazing that it's there's
that we
not
just
more
whack
problem.
them into people.
I think it's
yeah.
interesting because people, it's the fashion to have these massive tattoos.
Yeah.
I reckon there may be some health repercussions down the line
think?
somewhere. Yeah, I think so because a lot of them are based on toxic heavy metals.
So you're
all kinds
putting
of
like
weird- But I think
cadmium or something.
those big lumps of stuff they get taken up by cells like
Yeah.
macrophage cells,
exactly.
dendritic
No,
cells.
sorry, the small stuff gets taken. The big stuff stays.
Well, they actually get engulfed. So the material gets engulfed by,
Yeah.
and it's found within the cell, the middle of the cell,
Right.
and those cells just persist for decades.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
single cell which
And-
is loaded with it persists.
So what they say, one of the reasons, when people first get a tattoo, it's very kind of like crisp, and then over time it kind of spreads.
Yeah.
And that's partially because these things are slightly breaking down, these big
Oh,
chunks
yeah,
of
yeah.
things.
It leaches
But
away.
the reason they're actually leaching is that you basically you have those cells trying to kind of like excrete it.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing. Anyway, when you have your tattoo removed, so when you want to get rid of it because you put your you tattoo your penis on your bum
penis
or
on your
whatever. Or I like the way you take just straight into the gutter. Was that to be with you? What they do is they shine a very short picosecond pulse, right? So
Right.
picosecond is 10 to the minus 12.
So that's like a thousandth of a nanosecond,
Yeah,
and a nanosecond is a thousandth of a microsecond. So it's a millionth of a microsecond,
yeah.
and it's a billionth of a microsecond.
Yeah,
Which
so
is
it's
the
100
smallest
it's
thing that you
1,000
measure in
billion.
Formula One. So it's pretty short, eh?
Yeah, so it's a really brief pulse they do lots of times.
Really brief.
Yeah, but what it does, the reason, so what we use lasers in the lab with short pulses sometimes,
yeah.
and one of the things they really do is they can very quickly transfer energy. So they're actually very powerful. They're very dangerous, these pulsed lasers that have very short pulses of light. You don't see it being pulsed because obviously it's faster than your eye can see.
Yeah.
And when it does that, what happens is they take a laser that absorbs at that the wavelength of the black big stuff,
Yeah.
and they fire it at the kind of the big chunks of graphite. And what that does is it very locally heats up the front of it more than the back of it.
Right.
And just from through differential heating, what that does is because so much energy is transferred,
expands.
it cracks it.
Oh, right.
So if you ever take an ice cube and you put it in, you pour your drink in, you hear it cracking
it
somewhere.
up.
And the reason it's cracking is because the middle's cold and the outside's warm.
So basically, it cracks up the big stuff and turns it
Into the little stuff, and then your body gets
And
rid of
then
it.
The little stuff goes to your liver and probably gives it cancer.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if it's carbon, you're fine. But yeah, if it's other stuff, maybe.
If it's like
But-
lead and antimony, then
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
a problem.
But isn't that cool? So basically, if you look at it
Yeah, it's
afterwards, so
cool.
all are we doing is you're just breaking big stuff into little stuff, and then
I
your body
wonder-
just deals
I wonder
with
who
it.
invented that. It probably must make a load of money off that patent then.
Yeah.
Because it's like big business, especially now. People get all kinds of crap tattooed on
Yeah.
them. I always, I mean, it's a sort of, it's kind of like the sort of, conservative housewives view, isn't it? Of that I look at people with these tattoos and I think, oh, they're going to regret that when they're older. When
think
they're
they're
a
cool.
withered old woman and they got all that stuff
Yeah.
wrinkled on them.
And then I think they're cool.
Oh well, that's fine. I think they look cool now, but they might regret them later.
Well, then at least they'll have regrets.
And I'm going off to vote
Too
for
few to
Brexit
mention.
again. Steve,
Nick,
I was at my dad's house quite recently.
how is Dr. Evans?
He's good. Yeah,
Yeah?
he's all right. Yeah, he's in Madeira at the moment on his holes.
Ah.
Yeah, doing
Sorry.
a bit of walking. Anyway, I'm not here to talk to you about my dad's holidays, but he'd got in his attic. I didn't know this because he's considering
Nick's-
moving. He'd gone through his attic. he'd found a load of my old school books.
Oh
So he
my
must have
God!
kept them.
So Nick's got his book in front
So
of him.
in
there.
my hand, I have.
I'm looking at it right now. It's quite exciting.
It says on the front, Nicholas Evans, Science
Did you
1S.
feel like, you know, when in Indiana Jones, where he gets the little booklet that tells him where to go to find the Grail? Did you feel a little bit? It looks a little bit like that. Is that how you felt when you first put your hands on it
There are
again?
secrets in here, Steve, that you wouldn't believe. Instructions. It's like the Frankenstein
All right.
monster.
So what year are we talking here?
Well, I can tell you the first entries. This is the first ever.
Your first ever experiment.
Let me take you
Okay.
through. It's the first ever entry in my science book.
This is the start of your
This
scientific
is the
career.
start of my scientific career. So
Wow.
at junior school, do they still call it junior school?
First school, I think.
I've got no
Okay,
idea anymore.
whatever.
When people say like year 11, I don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
The first year of senior school to me was your school first year. When you're 11.
No, the first year of the first time you go to school now is year 1.
I know, but now in those days,
Right. Back
juniors.
in the good old days.
Yeah, I don't want to have a go. Let's not digress. Anyway, except that
Right.
it was 11 years old, first year. I was in Form 1S.
Little Nick Evans
Science.
running about.
And the first
It's like,
entry was on
yes,
the 7th of September 1988. I was a fresh-faced 11-year-old kid ready to do science. So I
1988.
thought I'd
okay.
ask you a couple of questions and see whether you could answer them about science, Steve.
Let's do it.
And I'll see whether you get
Well,
the
but
same.
how do you know? So you've got the answers in there. But how do you know yours?
Dude, this book's got all of the answers.
All the answers. I told you it's just like the thing from the Grail in Indiana Jones.
So the first thing that I want to ask you, Steve, is
Right.
what is science? You can only use one sentence.
Science is the study of the natural world.
Oh, I think I'll give you a mark for that.
what did
11-year-old
Mr.
Nick
Evans
think? Science is finding out how the world about us works.
That's good.
Do you
And
like
that's
that?
better. That's better than mine, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one to you. One to your 11-year-old self.
Next one.
Damn it!
Can you
I'm
take?
losing.
Can you
I hate
take?
losing.
Can you take? Next question. Can
Yeah.
you take me through the 4 steps of the scientific method?
Oh shit!
There are 4 steps.
There are 4 steps. I would say hypothesis, experiment, conclusion, and I don't know, revision. I don't know.
Yeah, you're close.
Yeah.
The last one, you missed one out really.
Right.
So the first one is decide what to investigate. So that's
Decide.
kind of like a hypothesis.
Yeah.
So I think that's what a hypothesis
Yeah.
is.
So I get 1.
The second one is design the experiment.
Design the experiment.
The third one is carry out the experiment.
This is awesome.
And the fourth one is draw a conclusion from your results.
Nick, I'm serious now. You need to put this on the door of your lab. I'm not joking. You need to print this off. And a little picture of you. You must have a picture of your first day at school. Everyone's got that picture.
Okay.
And I want this on the door of the Evans lab. And if I come to Southampton, it's not there. I'm going to be angry.
That's a good point. I've got a new lab. We're moving to a new lab. I've got my sort of own space.
Well,
now.
there you go. Well, that's going up.
Anyway, okay. So the 3 sciences, Steve.
Right.
I want you to tell me what
What are the 3 sciences?
Yeah, tell me what they are first of all.
Chemistry, biology, and physics.
Okay, so what is chemistry specifically? Seeing as this is what you've got your PhD in, and what you call yourself, your Twitter handle is Steve the Chemist.
The study of the chemical.
Chemical? You can't say chemical.
I would
For tautology.
It's the study of how matter interacts with other matter.
Would that not be physics to like a ball
'cause
bearing?
physics.
That would include physics though, because
But
a ball bearing going into another one is an interaction of matter with
but a
matter.
light, electromagnetic wave is not matter.
Yeah, but physics can include a ball bashing into another ball. That would
It
be
can.
an interaction of matter. Can you be more specific, Steve? In other words, you're not totally correct.
I don't know. What did you say?
Yeah, according to
The study of the physical world, maybe.
well, that's physics, dude.
That's just science, isn't it? I don't really have divisions to you. I'm much more
I
liberal.
love the way that you get uncomfortable at this, rather than just taking it in your stride. You're really wound up. You don't know the answer. It's like, oh no, I don't know the answer. I don't know what chemistry is. I don't know what it is. Ah, internal panic. Externalize it. No, you're wrong. Anyway,
Thanks, Nick.
here we go. It's the study of reactions between substances.
I disagree with that. I'm pulling.
Dude, this was a first year science, but for God's sake, do you know what biology?
I'm having a competition
Do you-
with 11-year-old Nick
do you
Evans
know
here.
what biology is?
So what was chemistry?
It's
The study of
chemistry
reactions.
between substances. Yeah,
Okay. Well, can we?
it's a bit of a narrow definition. Biology. What's biology?
The study of living systems.
You're absolutely spot on.
Word for word.
Living things.
Oh, living things.
Systems is better.
Yeah.
How about physics?
Everything else.
The study of energy, forces, and matter, according to this.
Right. Wow.
Do you not know what the first experiment I ever did was?
Yeah, Nick. Do you know what? We should make this a series. We should. This could be a bit. This could be a new segment.
Boring.
Could be. All right. So what's the first experiment you've done?
Well, this is just drawing apparatus.
Right. So
there
that
are
doesn't
several-
count. That's
no,
not.
that doesn't
What's the
count.
first experiment? There's lots of ticks. He's got 9 out of 10. I can see that from here. He's got 9 out of 10 for an experiment. Good.
Hang on. But the first one wasn't really an experiment. It was learning to use a Bunsen burner.
Yeah, that's not really an experiment.
Connect the Bunsen to the gas supply. Close the air hole.
If I
won't
refer
take
you
you
to
through
the
that.
4
It's pretty
stages
boring.
of science, I don't think that's an experiment, is it?
It was an experiment to investigate the action of heat on some substances.
Awesome.
So
It does
Yeah,
sound a little bit
okay.
old. You know, we spoke
I'll d-
before about like kind of Cambridge professors and old papers.
see whether you can get this. So this
Alright.
is chemistry. So apparently I heated a range of substances and I recorded my observations. It's quite
Good.
an old-fashioned way of doing things. How about cupric sulfate? Granular cupric sulfate. So granular copper sulfate.
If you heated it up,
Yeah. So this is blue copper sulfate.
Yeah.
This is a good one.
that's my favourite
So,
colour.
so I'm
My favourite colour in all of chemistry is
Oh, great.
copper 2 sulfate. Yeah.
okay. So copper sulfate.
Yeah.
What happens when you heat
Are you going from
blue copper 2
It'll
sulfate?
probably go green, be copper 3.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
What?
Nope, Steve.
Colourless?
Wrong. Nope. Copper sulfate. It's a light blue powder to start with.
It is, yeah.
Light blue powder. So it turns white. Do you know why it turns
It must
white?
oxidise. You must make cupric oxide.
Oh dear, Steve.
Why does it
It's
turn white? I
incorrect.
don't know.
So this comes down to one of the first things that I learned when I was 11 years old, Steve. You don't seem to know it. So copper sulfate, the solid, the blue crystals, they're blue because they're hydrated.
Well, they're blue because of the copper, but
No, apparently the actual powder is blue because it's hydrated.
bollocks.
According to my first year, when you
Yeah.
heat it, it becomes anhydrous copper sulfate,
Right.
and that's white in colour.
That I can believe. Yeah.
That's the answer to the experiment.
All right.
Hard luck, Steve. One day you'll attain the knowledge of an 11-year-old boy. Oh, can I ask you one more
Yeah,
question
do
just
it.
to annoy you? Oh yeah, this is what I wanted to ask you about, and this is a question that's bugged me for a while.
Yeah.
Right, and it comes down, and it reminded
He's
me.
actually annoyed.
It reminded me. So at Christmas,
Yeah.
mulled wine.
Yeah.
Do you like mulled wine?
I don't really. I'd rather just have wine.
I like mulled wine. I think there's a time and a place for it.
Yeah.
Usually after a carol concert.
I like it in the cold outside.
Yeah, it's lovely. I
Yeah.
like mulled wine. Anyway, does mulled wine? If you heat mulled wine,
Yeah.
does all of the alcohol boil away? And
No.
then why not?
So it's called an azeotrope. It's called a low boiling azeotrope.
Mm.
So it's the same. People argue like you could. So it's very very difficult to if you just take like vodka and you heat it.
Yeah.
There ends up with being about a 5% alcohol that you just can't boil off. It just won't go, and that's
Weird.
basically because it's hydrated in the solution.
Yeah.
So you can't really ever. So when you make you can't do it just from boiling. You can't just kind of evaporate off all of the booze. So when people talk about, if you make a stew or something, and you put a load of wine in it, it will still have booze in it, but it's much less. But you can't get down to 0.
Yeah, and I that's what I thought was true, and but in my book it begs to differ. First year begs to differ because I did an experiment. Well, first of all,
Right.
it boiled
How are you measuring?
either propanol or water and measured
Yeah.
the temperature. And what happens? You heat it, the temperature increases until it reaches its boiling point, and then it doesn't go any higher.
Yeah.
Right. And I think most people understand that things have a boiling point, and they don't get hotter than that; they just boil off. But I did
We've
another
spoken about boiling.
We have
We can go back to
one of the
podcasts.
podcasts. Yeah, 'cause
People like that.
I got confused
Yeah.
about that as well. But I did another experiment. We had half water and half propanol.
Right.
What do you think happened?
half water and half propanol.
A solution of half
well,
water.
you would see a double staircase.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
But I thought that there's something that, you can't boil it. So it's like the alcohol boils off first.
Yeah.
Completely. And then the water boils off.
No, but it's still there. It's still in the water. But then that energy can be used to reheat.
So you heat it up first.
Yeah.
The water. So you've got propanol and water. So
Yeah.
propanol boils at 81, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, 81 I calculated.
Right.
So the propanol boils at 81 degrees. It sticks there for a bit while the propanol boils off.
Yeah.
So you would, and then it rises to the boiling point of
Yeah,
water. So you'd assume that the propanol's all boiled off
No,
by the
it's
time
still
it
in
goes.
there. Still
But
a
how
bit
does
in
it
there.
go higher then?
Because it's basically solvated by the water. So in the same way that there's water. So if you did the same experiment with wine, and we're asking, does all the alcohol boil off? It would still be in there, but you would still see that plateau. And actually, what you'd see is you see that the boiling point would be slightly lower than it would be in the
See.
pure water.
So it wouldn't be exactly 100.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
so
maybe-
that process is called a colligative property. It's why we put salt on roads. It's it's that you can modify the parameters.
Well, I did that experiment too. Looked at salty water.
Right. How
So-
cold did you get it?
No, it's boiling.
Oh, right.
So the water boiled at 101 degrees. So these were some of my first forays into
That's
science.
some good science right there.
Thanks,
good
man.
depression of freezing
And
point.
you'll be
and
glad to know we started off with chemistry. That's the first of the sciences
hear
that
it.
we've
Good to hear it.
investigated before moving on to ancient astronomy.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah.
And the stories from Nick's, the
Well,
11-year-old.
Maybe we'll dip into that.
I
want to.
I think
I'll
I
ask
think we need
Steve
a jingle.
More nasty
I
questions.
think we want the
about
jingle, and we can go back to Nick's old chemistry books.
it. Yeah.
More to
absolutely.
come.
Yeah.
Science shed! We're in the science shed! Science shed! We're in the science shed! Come on, Steve!
Bunsen.
Burner!
Dolly.
Machine!
Internal.
Combustion!
Why do we need
Stove!
Petri?
Dishes!
Oscar.
Base!
Isaac.
Newton!
Transplanting.
Science!
Nick,
Yeah.
we're another podcast is over.
Another one.
Another one, but
What?
there's a little bit more. There's a little
What?
bit more to come.
What?
So normally in this bit we just kind of abuse each other and wrap up, right?
Yeah.
And tell people how they can find us
Yeah.
on social media.
Yeah.
So they can find me. I'm Steve the Chemist, and you're the Evans Lab. But there's a little bit more this week.
What?
So we're trying to get other people to kind of listen to the Science Shed because we're getting good feedback about it. And to do that, we need a little bit of help.
We need more listeners.
We need more listeners. So one of the ways you can do that, we need your help, listeners. We want you to review us on iTunes because the majority of people listen to the Science Shed on iTunes. So just if you log on, we'll send a little link. You can just give us. It doesn't have to be a good review. It can be good or bad. But if you just review us, what that does is that pushes us up in iTunes' magic ranking algorithms.
But even if it's a bad review.
Yeah, because it
So
means that people
all
are listening
publicity
to
is good publicity.
it. Exactly. But as a little thank you, I've had some stickers made, Nick. I've made some Science Shed stickers.
I know because I've got one stuck on my laptop.
I'm looking at
computer.
one right now. So there's a little thank you. Anyone that sends us a review, if you tweet us that you've done us a review, we'll post you a Science Shed sticker, the coveted, extremely rare Science Shed sticker.
Aren't we generous?
We really are.
It's
aren't we?
almost like the blankly blank checkbook and pen, isn't it?
Do you know what it really does feel like? Is we was trying to buy listeners with a really cheap prize.
And it
I'd like
is
to say,
cheap.
we buy you a pint or something.
I think people will just do it out of the goodness of their hearts, but it will be a pleasant bonus for them to also.
so. They're not doing it
receive.
for the prize,
No.
for the sticker, but it is a way of saying thanks.
Yeah, great.
Anyway,
Okay.
should we go and have some dinner?
Yeah, I think Maria's just finished cooking the beef joint.
Awesome, let's do
Happy
it.
days.